And if everything works, we should be live. So, good day, everyone, and anyone listening to another episode of Everything Outside Code. And today I have Charmon Stiles with us, who's a fractional CMO. I'm just going to let her say all that bit, but you want to say hello first, Charmon, before we proceed?
Yes, thank you so much, William, for having me today. I'm like super excited for this conversation, and just to share a little bit about fractional CMOs and I guess uncover the mystery of who we are and what we do. Um,
Yeah,
I am a marketing executive I have about 17 years experience in the industry, and that is including 12 years building and leading remote and distributed teams. I've done that both client side and agency side. And then I'm also a product owner. So what that means for this audience is that like I can go and speak to engineers and then also to designers, and I'm really I I bridge a gap, a communication gap between teams. So yeah, happy to be here today. Thank you.
thank you so much, Charmon. I'm almost tempted to just get straight to it and be like, hey, you have this product knowledge and you're bridging product teams or marketing teams, how that works. We're going to get to that shortly. But for anyone listening, if you're curious as to what a fractional CMO does, how they transform your team, especially focusing on revenue growth, so not just doing stuff with marketing, but marketing as purposeful and purpose built for revenue growth, you should be listening to this. If you have any comments, leave them either in the comments on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. We'll take them. Without further ado, we'll just get straight to it. So I'm going to ask definitely that question. So,
Okay.
product owner, photographer, designer, very technical, marketing. How do you combine all these to what you do currently? You could give us a bit of a backstory leading up to this, or you could just take it from wherever you see fit.
Sure. So I'm a creative, and like it's like a generational thing. So it's just like it's in my DNA, right? And I knew that I wanted to do something as a career that fed, that part of me. So I was a designer for a while and ended up launching my first e-com business. And that's where I got into marketing. And it was actually a really cool experience. I realized a couple things in the process. There are many designers that are far better than me that I would love to lead and be creative director for, and that I'm really good at branding and marketing. There's that because it's both creative and analytical, right? So it feeds like both
Hmm.
sides. So that's
Yeah.
how I ended up where I'm at, because so I have been a founder and an entrepreneur. And, when I launched my first ecom business, that was back in 2007. So it was a long time ago. We launched it, and, some people can probably relate to this. I was co-founded, I co-founded it with someone, and I looked at my partner one day and I was like, what are we going to do? Someone has to market this thing.
Yeah.
Like not even like a thought, because we were just going. Like we had this great idea and we knew it filled a need and we just wanted to bring it to life. Well, that's when I was like, well, I guess that's me. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
many founder, co-founder, in the world that had that same moment of, whoa, someone has to like tell people that we exist. So
Yeah.
that's how I landed in marketing.
Wow. So from 2707, so 2007 till date, how has that changed? So from saying, yeah, I'm just going to take on marketing as an entrepreneur or as a co-founder to being in teams and agency, how has your career changed over time and how you support teams as well?
Oh, okay, that's a loaded question. So I marketing has changed a lot, obviously,
Okay. Yeah.
like so much. Um, Also, how businesses work, like business has changed a lot, and teams, like just people in general, and like our expectations as people with jobs and what we're looking for, in a company or in a team. All of those things have changed. So I've really like kind of gone with the flow. Initially, I was working with my ecom business, went to, client side after that for a little while. From there, went to agencies and really just immersed myself in
Mm-hmm.
agencies because I loved the idea of doing something different every day, like helping more businesses be
Yeah.
successful and solving different problems. There's, because there's that analytical side of me, but then also being able to provide creative direction. And early on at one of my agencies, I actually worked with someone who did a lot of sensory branding. And so that's where I got like really deep into the branding side. And so it's really just morphed based on need because I've been at a lot of smaller agencies and like mid-market companies where we have like more like lean agile teams, right? And so I had to dive in, I had to learn. And and then I started leading teams. I joined an agency, a few years in to this marketing and creative, like as a pair journey.
Mm-hmm.
I joined an agency that was very like software related, and so that's where the product owner piece came in. So
Yeah.
if you think about it, like I've got go to market experience for my own company, right? Had to figure that piece out. Had
Mm-hmm.
to find product market fit, like before that was even a term, right?
Yeah.
And um, and then had to get into like the branding side, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know was totally digital. Then from there went to the technical piece, and so I just kept like layering on top of my experience
Mm-hmm.
to be where I am today, which is where I actually love being. So I work a lot
Yeah.
with it's SaaS. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I lead creative teams, I do marketing, and I work on products. So now I've combined all of those skill sets into
Yeah.
where I can make a big impact today.
Yeah. So speaking of today, um, what does a fractional CMO do? At least what the teams expect from you? Maybe sometimes they expect something, but what does a fractional CMO do ideally?
So yeah, I know there's a little bit of confusion right now in the market as far as like what the heck is a fractional CMO, and like why would or when would I hire a fractional CMO, right?
Yeah.
So basically a fractional CMO is actually really perfect in the space where I tend to fit. Helping like startups and mid-market teams that are ready to scale, because a fractional CMO gives you flexibility to scale as you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you bring a fractional person on, whether it be whatever their fractional role is, whether that be CRO or CMO, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we can come in for to solve a specific problem or for a certain amount of time. And the main idea though is the flexibility. Like you can structure it in a way that works for you. So like you might need someone to, I don't know, launch a product, and maybe you only need like 10 or 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week from someone. You don't need a whole a whole CMO. Like you just need a
Yeah.
fraction of that person's time and IP, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's flexibility, it's access to executive talent. Um, Ideally, a fractional person is someone who has years of experience to back that ability to come in quickly, see the
Mm-hmm.
situation, identify like where they can insert themselves to solve the challenges, knowing
Yeah.
that's going to make a very direct impact on revenue.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like very targeted skills also. Like me, I'm like, go to market, product market fit, with brand. Um, so you can also find someone for a specific need. Um, and it's just, it can be, they're typically longer term, fully embedded
Mm-hmm.
to the team. Whereas like a
Yeah.
consultant outside of a team, a fractional person needs to be like part of the team, even though they might only be, working, part-time, 20 hours a week. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, those are some of the benefits of like
Hmm.
when and why you would hire someone like me.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, and I love the experience part, right? A fractional CMO
Yes.
has to bring wealth of like experience, because I would assume if you're doing it part time, first there has to be some form of like proper time management, context switching, someone that can manage this effectively, and understand like the needs of different partners. Because in this case, I see it more of like a partnership rather than having clients per se. So it
Yes.
has to be someone with like a lot of experience. Something you also mentioned that piqued my interest was you mentioned direct impact to revenue. I'm sure everyone that's come on this stream, that's something they're very curious about, especially founders and entrepreneurs. So when we talk about direct impact to revenue, how do you drive this? I know we started talking about brand and how brand marketing ties to revenue growth, right? So could you shed more light on that? Speak a bit more to that.
Yes, absolutely. So brand is truly a driver of revenue. Um, brand, if you when you have a really well defined brand, you clearly understand what your first of all, like purpose, mission, vision, values. Everyone knows about those things. Like you should have those things, but it's important to be really specific and clear about those things. And brand strategy actually would then like inform logo identity, and it can inform business decisions. It can inform, like how you go to market. It informs because personas or like brand archetypes, like personalities, that's all part of that as well. And all of that really fuels the
Hmm.
ability to be really clear about who you are, what you bring to the table, why it matters, and who it matters to. And then the other thing is why you're different, or how are you different. So
Hmm.
being different is more important than being better when it comes to brand, because better can be like who has the highest budget to spend the most money to get the most eyes on the brand, right?
Yeah.
Being different is less than comparing, A and B. It's just different. So it makes it's a different decision process, right?
Yeah.
And that's what brand will give you. And so there's other things that brand impacts. Brand will impact, so brand is first set internally. You want everyone on your team to know your brand and to buy into your brand and to be part of building your brand. Because, think about it, like if you have customer service and, they're talking to
Hmm.
customers every day, you've got, the product team with a certain perspective, you got a sales team with a different perspective, and
Hmm.
everyone knows something different about the customer. And then there's the customers themselves, right? So, you include all those pieces in a brand strategy to gain that understanding of why you matter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. So, uh, how does this tie to revenue, or how would a founder understand that this is important for revenue growth, right? Because there are various pieces of building a brand. Like you said, that's the you want to stand out, you want to be different, right? But then we're standing out, we're different, but we're broke, right? Uh, how
Yeah.
do we relate this? Like, how do we translate this brand value that we now have in tangible terms to revenue growth?
So there's a few things that I like to ask or have
Hmm.
executives consider. So one of those questions is, are there changes in your business or in the market that your brand has not addressed yet? So if you think of your brand is like this living, breathing entity that exists in a way that is meaningful to the world and your users. And if you think about how fast the world is changing and our users' behaviors are changing and expectations are changing, a brand strategy is something you want to look at, I would say like twice a year at least. And so you can ask yourself, like, are we still relevant in the market? Are we still relevant to customers?
Yeah.
Maybe you're a SaaS company, you're launching a new product. So are you entering a new market? Is it like a new demographic? Is your positioning like still differentiated in the competitive market that you're in? Not better, different, right? Is your team engaged and delivering on your brand promise? And I want to come back to that one because that is like so important. And do you have healthy retention, like happy customers? Do you have people who'd be willing to refer you to someone else when you're not in the room? And is marketing in alignment with strategic growth plans, or is marketing like reactive? And so those are some really key things that executives want to look at when they're thinking about brand and how it impacts revenue. The reason why I want to come back to the team piece is because, so brand strategies should start in marketing, but like I said, if you've got customer success and, product and sales and, all the even finance, right? If you've got a representative of each team as part of the brand strategy process, you will have their buy-in and support their perspectives, which is also really important. But then you can also include the rest of the company. You can do like team surveys. And what happens is then there's more ownership of the brand. And when there's more ownership of the brand and everyone feels heard, then they treat the customers differently. It is only when the brand is clearly defined and felt internally that it can be experienced externally. Okay. And when you think about that, you don't exist without your customers. And so you want to do the best you can for customers. And so it has to start at home first, essentially, right? Before it can be external.
Yeah, that's right. I think I mentioned this a bit before we got on the stream. If Henry is listening to this, he's our head of content at Hackmamba. He'd probably say, "Yeah, I told you so." He used to bug me about probably 18 months ago about how we need to define our brand, and I was like, "Nope." I was like, "No, we don't have the time. We don't have the. We need to focus on like our customers. We need to acquire customers. We need to talk to folks." And he's like, "Yeah, we need to set this up first so that we can eventually acquire customers better. We have better stories to tell. We have some anchor, and we all tell like a unified story across all our channels." But me being the founder, I'm like, "Nope." I was like, "No. We could do something else. Let's try like other stuff. Let's just keep posting stuff on social media." And but now I know better, right?
Yeah.
I know better also.
North Star. It's a North Star, right? Like, okay, if you're going on a road trip and you're going somewhere brand new where you've never been before, do you map that out before you go?
Yeah.
Okay, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know better, right? Now I know how we serve like how the customers that come to us, right? What they came to us for. That's also helped us improve something. At that time, I didn't know this was a brand, right? But now I know, okay, we're building a brand. I can tell someone that, hey, we're trying to create original content. We're trying to create original technical content for developers. Previously, we're just shooting like everywhere. If we had set this up in place, I feel like first the content we created for ourselves would have been like cohesive. They would have been longer lasting. The materials, the lead magnets, the get into like the nitty gritties, those things would have, we could still reuse them. But a lot of those things we just like shelved back. And then it also cost us quite a bit because without this brand identity, we created really technical content. We wrote tutorials, right? So Google, for instance, SEO wise, recognized Hackmamba, the brand, as a blog, a tutorial blog. So if you try to find content marketing agency or content agency, you do not find Hackmamba. But if you look for Next.js authentication, you will probably find Hackmamba there. But that's not who we are. That's not what we want to be found for. So now we're having to do a lot of work to change all these things. And I feel like these things we could have, if we had done it better in the past, we wouldn't be doing all this now. So I definitely do resonate with how brand ties eventually to revenue, because as we build this brand now, like you say, we are seeing revenue growth. And folks remember us. So when we do like marketing and we share stuff passively, we stay top of mind. We have prospects reaching out to us down the line and being like, hey, we're ready to buy, or we're ready to do this thing, and I just remembered you. Right. And I figured, oh, it's because we actually have a consistent brand over time now. That's why they've come.
Yeah, I mean, consistency, like you use that word, and that just is such a trigger for me. That's another another thing is, so you don't end up like this Frankenstein brand that looks different on every channel and has different personalities depending on who wrote a post.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the big things that a brand solves. And when I say brand, like, it's not a logo. Your brand is not your logo. There's that too. Like that's just, I should have like started with that. But brand informs what the logo should look like and like what fonts and colors you should use. It informs the visual identity.
Yeah. I think so far, like in our case, I realized that we had like a logo, we had all that stuff, and now we're just accepting it and trying to make it match the brand. Like we're trying to pull it closer. Yes. We're trying to put it closer to the brand. If you look at the Hackmamba logo, it's a H. Like the designer, I think we're lucky we got a designer that just thought about a brand. If they had a brand, what would the logo look like? And they made one. And now I look at the logo and someone asks me, what does this logo look like? I'm like, yeah, it looks like a pen, because it actually does look like a pen now. and that's sort of like, it makes me feel like, oh, okay, the logo matches the brand in some way. So we're set on that side. Maybe we'll look at it later in the future. But like,
that's a brand evolution, and those are necessary too.
Yeah. There's something you mentioned, which is revisiting the brand. Was it brand proposition or brand value? The brand promise over time. Yeah, and making sure it is refreshed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something I feel at least a lot of startup teams do not do consciously, especially if they're a small team and pulled in different directions. Which brings me to the next thing I think about. Yeah, a lot of founders like me, at the start, like you talk to them about like, we need to build a brand. We need to you need to think this through, and you need to clearly articulate this so that everyone is on the same page going forward with any GTM motion. And they're like, hell no, we don't have the time for that. We're a small team. We're focused on product development. We want to get customers. And they're like really stuck up on it. And so far I've gotten that objection. I just say to myself, well, I have nothing to lose. I'm just trying to advise you. You're going to figure it out down the line, like I did. So how would you approach that if you're talking to a founder, maybe casually or in a business setting, and they're like, we don't want to focus on like brand development now. We just want to keep building stuff and keep putting it out there. And in the future, we could talk about like brand. How would you approach that conversation? Would you just be like, cheers to, or how?
I will say that in talking to someone who does not value brand or marketing, part of me wants to be like, nice meeting you, goodbye. because like, I know the value and I know how it drives revenue. Like, I literally have case studies about how it drives revenue. However, what I would say is, I would challenge that, because some of the go-to-market activities, or let me take a step back. I build brands for customers, but also with customers. And so like when I talked about brand strategy before and the team and like doing team interviews and like even customer interviews, that part can't be skipped. So, and that's actually part of finding product market fit is those customer interviews. So if you just want to like build things for customers, that's great, include them in the process, but like you build the brand and talk to the customers, like you do it together. That will elicit the revenue, right? The revenue piece, because you have built something that somebody wants and needs.
Yeah.
And so it's a fit. You need to find that fit, and brand is the way to that.
Yeah. Let's talk about product market fitness, right? I think that's a very common word, or at least a common phrase that a lot of founders or just folks building in tech threw around for when they don't have a lot of money. Because when they have a lot of money, it automatically means they have product market fitness. All right. But to you, how do you see product market fitness? What does that mean to you?
So product market fit to me means that you have a product within a market that fits and fills a need of the people that are using it. So like that's not new at all, in product. How you get to that though is what's important. That's, obviously you have to have, a vision and a passion as a founder, to to get you through, right? So you can make it to a revenue state. And you just want to like build that with customers. Like you want to have your idea, and then sanity check it, like test it, ask customers, have people test it, have people use it, and refine it. That way, when you're ready to go to market, you know that you have something, that is valuable in some way. I'm not saying build the whole deal. Like, what's the most valuable thing you can do as like a first release?
Yeah.
And then keep getting customer feedback, and create that loop, customer feedback loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it seems like does having a great, or at least building a brand, contribute to product market fitness? Because I know a lot of founders that say we are seeking product market fitness, so whatever has to do with like branding, marketing, all that, like they just put it aside and they're like, we're going to talk to users and we'll try to solve a problem. So do you feel like building a brand, either incidentally or in parallel, is a component of reaching product market fitness?
Okay, so let's assume you have a product, it's a fit, and you've done, your customer interviews. Now you have to go out into the world and you have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without some definition and focus, that can go wrong fast.
Yeah.
It's having the clarity again of like, this is the thing that makes us different. This is who we're talking to. Like, you want to make sure that like your messaging and when you go out into the world, when you are released to the wild, what are you saying? How are you saying it? And why do people care?
Yeah.
And so that takes some work. That takes like some deep thinking work. And that takes, in the very beginning at a brand new startup, the CEO has to be a part of that, because the CEO was the one with the vision, right? Or the founder, the one with the vision. And so you got to pair that vision with what's actually happening and the needs and like the end result, and meld that into something that makes sense for the receivers.
Yeah. That's definitely, that's great. I typically say, before we put anything out, I ask whoever is making it, I'm like, why should anyone care? Why should anyone care about what you're about to give them? Why should they care about this message you're about to send, or this piece you're about to create, or this blog you wrote? And it just helps us think about things cohesively. Because when we think about why they should care, we start to think about, okay, what did we state at the beginning that we want people to care about, right? So when they think about Hack Mama, what should they, what
Yeah.
should they, what should they care about, right? And that definitely has helped us. So still on brand. I'm very fascinated by this because I'm learning a lot.
Okay.
What do you think founders should do? Realize that, oh, they're going at product market fitness, but they also need to communicate the message clearly and consistently to their prospects, users, anyone trying to use the product, anyone they come in contact with. Um, they know they need to do this. What's the first thing you feel they should go at? Like, what do they do first? Do they try to reach out to a fractional CMO to say, hey, we want to do this thing, but we are unable to take on it full time, or have someone internally do this? Or what other thing could they do? Do they need to pull up a Google Doc and just write brand on top and start putting in stuff? What do you think they should do first?
Well, so here's like one of the big deal or value adds of a fractional, bringing a fractional person in, is that so someone like me, like I have processes, like I have a network, right? And so yes, when you are ready, to define your brand, to find product market fit, to go to market or to scale, whatever. Those are like the stages, that of
Mhm.
companies I would work with. At any of those stages, um, you you would find a fractional CMO that has the skill set that you think you need, and I emphasize that because
Yeah.
again, like for example, what if the problem is that your revenue is stalled? You're a mid-market company, you already have a product, your revenue is stalled. Maybe no one's looked at your brand strategy in years, or maybe it was never done. You've just managed to get, to like 50 million without a brand strategy. But it's a moment to like, you know, look at the brand. So you want to bring someone in with a skill set based on what you think you need. Installed revenue might be a brand problem. It might not be a sales problem. It might not be a marketing problem. It might be rooted in a brand problem. Okay. So that's why I
Yeah.
say think. Um, and, just, yeah, look for someone with a skill set or maybe like the vertical expertise. Uh,
Hmm.
so if you're a SaaS company, then, look for someone who's worked in SaaS and who has a good amount of SaaS leadership experience and a good
Hmm.
network. Um, and
Yeah.
that's where you would start, and like I said, we'll come with like our own processes and like templates and people that can execute on the things, or we can be fully embedded in your team and we can lead
Hmm.
your team
Yeah.
in implementing the strategy that we were brought on to
Yeah.
build.
Aha. So say a founder doesn't want to bring on a fractional CMO, but they want to
Okay.
go at building a brand, right? In tandem with maybe going at product market fitness. What do they do? Where do they start from? Because I can imagine that that's confusing, right?
So where do they start building a brand on their own?
Yeah, if they wanted to. Is it
Okay.
even possible? Or that's like outright impossible?
It is not impossible. I will say this. I Okay, so I have been leading brand strategies for so many years.
Hmm.
And I will tell you that what happens in the room when you get a team of executives in a room to look at a brand, define a brand, or redefine a brand, what happens in those meetings is absolute magic. It is absolute magic as far as the cooperation and collaboration and just sharing of like ideas and information and perspectives. So that creates like a lot of synergy among the team. So there's that, like just bring the team together, get like, have someone representing each department. And then, you really want, there's so many resources out there, but you want to know like, what's your purpose? Again, all those like things that everyone's like, yeah, we know all those things. They're important. Purpose, mission, vision, values. Think about things like what are the functional benefits? What are the actual, like, you want to identify like your capabilities or like your features. What problems do those solve? What are the emotional benefits, of those? And, look at your positioning statement. You want to, be really clear on how you are different, who you're for, and why it matters. And, all of those things, will help you define what types of things you should say and not say to your audience. Something else I work through with my clients is communication, like rules. There's brand tone, brand voice, and they're done in a specific order, though, I'll say, because like one thing feeds the next, which feeds the
Oh,
next. Obviously, like you're not going to define your brand voice and tone until you know why you exist and who you're talking to and what matters to them, or what your brand personality is, right? Then
yeah,
you're going to define, this is what we say and this is how we say it, and these are communication rules, do's and don'ts.
yeah.
So
That, that definitely does make sense. So aside, okay, if they're unable to bring in executives, they need to answer all these questions. It's a lot of questions, though.
it
I guess that's why it's a lot of work.
it is, but so I will say that, like, uh, your fractional, or your consultant or your fractional person or your executive who's leading the brand strategy will lead that conversation. Something that I do often is, like I said, it's like magic what happens in those rooms. Sometimes there's disagreements, sometimes there's aha
Yeah.
moments. There's just a lot that happens there that is so
Hmm.
valuable in when you have an executive team that is like in lockstep together, leading a company
Hmm.
with the same North Star. That is so powerful in a company. Like, if you want to
Yeah.
move the needle, start there. Get your executive team like
Hmm.
really in sync, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. And from your experience, what are some of like the top mistakes, at least when you come onto a team as a fractional CMO, you see that this is like the one mistake most teams are already making? Obviously, aside from intentionally trying to build a brand, is there anything else you feel like these are some of the top mistakes they're making and they need to stop? It's like you need to plug that gap ASAP.
Yeah. Well, the biggest one is, we don't need a brand. Oh, we don't need all that brand strategy stuff. We have a logo. That's the
Yeah.
first that, and probably most common one. Um, the other one is not including customers and teams in things like in brand building, or type activities. So even if you don't want to like build a brand, um, you'll want to get the insights from the various teams in the company to see, like, what are the commonalities you're seeing, in conversations.
Yeah.
Like, what questions are customers asking? Like, what keeps happening? What are people saying? Do they keep comparing us to one of our competitors? Or, like, just things like that. All those gold nuggets need to be shared across,
Mhm.
like, knowledge sharing across, the organization, cross functionally, is really important. And I think that doesn't happen enough,
Yeah.
because if you're at least doing that, like, even if you do have a brand strategy defined, like, I talk with my sales teams like every week,
Yeah.
finance at least once a month, customer success multiple times a week,
Yeah.
like, just keep the communication open between the people that are executing the work. Like, don't wait for the leadership team to do that for you. Like, just do that, because
Hmm.
that'll make you stronger and give you a more clear position and stance on how you're going to act, what you're going to say, how you're going to
Yeah.
say it, who you're
Mhm.
going to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really useful. So talking to all like relevant stakeholders,
Yeah.
rather than just imagining stuff. I would say that's actually something that we did, or I did, a couple of months ago, that's had like I think the biggest impact on our brand, which is previously we had an ideal customer profile.
Okay. Yeah.
And this was something I sat down, I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of customer we want to serve, right? They have to have like, the typical headcount of between 10 to 200 because we want to serve small to mid market
Okay.
companies. They need to be located in like certain countries. So we had like an ideal customer profile. But then we never closed any of those ideal customer profiles. We never brought anyone that fit in that bracket. It
Okay.
was just so hypothetical and it didn't work. And then one day I was like, we have all these customers that do not fit this ideal customer profile. Maybe I need to create a real customer profile, right? So I started
Yes.
logging for every customer we had and every customer that's come through the agency. Why did they come to us?
Mhm.
Who reached out? Why did they close? Because sometimes why they came and why they closed are two different things. So why
True.
did they close?
Yeah.
How long did they spend? Why did they churn? If they've left, if they haven't, what's the thing they're most they're happiest about when working with Hack Mama? And I did this for all our customers, and then I started picking out patterns in all these. And from those patterns, I was like, okay, I think if we try to solve or we try to reach out to our ideal customer profile, it wouldn't work. But here are who our real customers are. And these are the problems they come to us for. So maybe we should just regurgitate that. So reach out to the same the same customer profile as our current customers,
Hmm.
and we sell them the same problems that these other guys they came to us for. We don't have to do so much. And since we started doing that, that really shaped our messaging, our brand. It helped our sales calls be more efficient. We went to no's really quick. It's like I'm talking to a company and I already know this is like it's a no. They will not find us valuable. They're just going to lead us on. From the content we create, the copy on our website, it's all themed around this brand that we've built from just looking at our customers and why they come to us. So definitely, as you say, talking to at least maybe not even if they don't have the opportunity to talk to customers or end users, but just having some talking to customer success, finding out and an account executive that closed these deals and finding out why these people actually bought the software or a service. That's definitely valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. So that reminds me of something that's actually key in marketing. Well, I've been asked so many times, like, what is like the one um, skill set or trait, I guess, that is most important to marketing? And my answer is always the same. It is stay curious. Okay. And so what you're talking about is like you got curious about your business and about your customers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been there. I've done that where I've had to like back into it because I inherited, like a CRM full of, customer data, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out like, who are our actual customers? Like you said, a real
Yeah.
customer profile rather than ideal one. I love that term. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, where you start looking at like this is the largest percentage of who we have, and this is their makeup and their titles, whatever it is, whatever demographics about them to help you understand them. I've done that too. Like I've backed into it,
Mhm.
and it also works, and like I love that you shifted your messaging once you understood who
Yeah.
is here. Yeah, like focus
Um,
on who showed up for you, focus on
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. The,
Yeah.
yeah. The moment I figured it out, I think the same night I was like, "Holy shit! I need to change the messaging." I was like, "I need to change the messaging on our website." I reached out to the sales guys. I'm like, "No, we're not selling this other thing. We're not talking to people about this anymore. This is what we need to talk to them about." We saw,
Yep.
for instance, we saw a surge in clients after the release of GPT-4, which is a bit ironic because you would expect that a large language model like GPT-4 for creating content will kick us out of business, right? Everyone was like, "Yeah, William's going to be homeless soon," because I wouldn't have stuff to do. But then we saw a lot of our clients come to us because they want original content. They want human written content, but I didn't figure that out. Like I didn't think about it until I started looking at like why everyone and what they said in sales conversations that made them convert. It's like, oh, I've been talking like saying something else entirely. I should be saying this instead. And that's
Yeah.
formed our brand over at least the last 6 months now.
Interesting.
Yeah. I see we're up on time. I think I even got carried away. But thank you so much, Charmon, for sharing all these insights.
Thank
We
you.
have someone in the comments that said this is very insightful. I can't see their name, but yeah, this has been really insightful. I learned a lot myself. So I guess if anyone wants to find you on LinkedIn, or what's the best place to find you?
So LinkedIn, Charmon Stiles, and also charmonstiles.com. So my website, I live on LinkedIn, B2B marketer, all the way. No. So yeah, thank you so much for having me today. This was a fun conversation. I could talk brand all day.
Yeah, this was really fun. This was really fun. Thank you so much. I'm just trying to find your website and put it on the screen in case anyone is looking for this. I guess this is the.
Yes, thank you.
I had to verify, and it's on brand. There's a lot of really great content in there. Well,
it is of course on brand. It better be.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Charmon, and thanks to everyone else that tuned into the stream today. And I'll see you on another episode next week of Everything Outside Code. Ciao.
Thank you, everyone.